गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे So we saw in the last class that an idea was presented on how to meditate. Beyond the senses are the sense objects, beyond these objects is the mind, beyond the mind is the intellect, and beyond the intellect is the great self. And continuing, beyond the great Mahat, the Hiranyagarbha, the total mind, is the unmanifested Avyaktam, and beyond the Avyaktam Prakriti is the Purusha, the conscious principle. Beyond the Purusha, then we are told, stop, don't go ahead. There is nothing else after that. That's the substratum. That is the end, that is the highest goal. And this we explained last class, and now continuing. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu gudhotmana prakashate drushyate tvagraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhihi. This Atman hidden in all beings reveals itself not to all, but is seen only by seers of the subtle through sharp and subtle intellect. So, this is what we were talking after the class yesterday evening, and that was that the purpose of our spiritual journey is not just to know that you are the conscious principle. That's only one part of it. So what is the other part? The other part is to recognize that this conscious principle that I am is the conscious principle which is expressing in and through the entire creation. After that class, what we were talking about? That until and unless we have not recognized, or this feeling doesn't come to us when we look at the world, when we look at something, the immediate experience should be I am. Whether it be trees, whether it be animals, whether it be murderers, whether it be mountains, whether it be rivers, whether it be sky, whether it be sun, anything. The experience should be I. Then it is completion. While looking at the world, if we want to have that feeling, it will not happen. First you have to recognize yourself. And from that rediscovered identity of yourself as the conscious principle, as the infinite principle, as the all-knowing principle, as the spark of life, then you look out with a new set of divine glasses. So, what we have to do? We have to meditate, we have to be patient, we have to do our practices, we have to rid our ego or merge our ego or rediscover ego to be the total ego, and as a result of that disidentify with the body and mind and intellect, and as a result then what is left behind after dropping the individual mind and the total mind, what is left behind? That I am. And that I am is the only truth that there is. then for such a person, the question of world will not come in their mind. See? Pratyak Atma Brahmaikya Jnanam, meaning the knowledge of the oneness of the innermost self with the total self. Initially what was it? That the total mind I am expressing through. I am expressing through the individual mind, I am expressing through the total mind. But we have to experience that the material which has gone into making the total mind also I am. See? That will happen only when we come to this point where I alone am Brahmatmaikya Bodha Ekam Eva Dvitiyam Nanasti Kinchita. Meaning, there is only one truth and there is nothing else other than the truth. In this manner, it is hidden in all beings. Hidden in all beings that the self, the conscious principle is hidden behind the body, breath, mind, intellect in everyone, and it is possible for everyone to rediscover themselves to be that supreme conscious principle, the self within. And why it is hidden from us, this conscious principle? Only because we are living a desire-oriented life, only because we are living a deluded life. We have chosen to live a life of joys and sorrows, a choice of hunger and thirst, a choice of comfort and discomfort. And we have seen many times in many texts that all these are born only because of our wrong identity of ourselves. As long as the snake is there, the rope will not be recognized. And as long as the moment the rope is recognized, there is no snake ever. So, once the self is recognized, the snake, the individual mind or the total mind, it is no longer there. The variety is only from the individual and the total mind. That is the expression of the snake, the delusion. It will no longer be there. And in this way, inquire, discover yourself to be the source of all life everywhere. Why we are saying everywhere? Because as a seeker we have a concept of everywhere. From the point of the absolute, there is no everywhere, it only is. So in this way, realize. And the Atman hidden in all beings reveals itself not to all but seen only by seers of the subtle through sharp and subtle intellect. Drishyate tvagraya buddhya sukshmya sukshmadarshivih. Tvagraya buddhya meaning sharp and sharp intellect. Sharp intellect, we have talked about it. How to make the intellect sharp, make it single-pointed, make it concentrated, and the best way to make it single-pointed and concentrated is by putting the attention of the intellect on the Supreme Self which is hidden within, in the cave of the heart. And how can you do it? Use the support of Om. Then in the 13th verse, Yachedvam manasi prajnyaha tad yached jnana atmani jnanam atmani mahati niyached tad yached shanta atmani. Let the wise sink his speech into the mind into the intellect, and the intellect into the great Atman, and the great Atman into the peaceful Atman, great self into the peaceful self, and reach his destination. So here, after having told some meditation practices in the earlier verses, now another technique is being given by which you can, by contemplating on which one can reach the ultimate source. The first is told, let the wise sink his speech into the mind. Your speech means all organs of action and all organs of perception. Seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, and hands, legs, anus, genitals, and speech. Speech also is an organ of action. Merge all of their activities into the mind. How? How do you merge them into the mind? Withdraw them. Withdraw the senses. Do not allow them to get distracted by outside. Do not speak too much. Everything should be done in moderation. Like the Buddhists say, the middle way. That is the middle way. In ours we say the balanced path. Don't speak too much, don't speak too less also. And allow the speech to go back naturally. Merge back into its source naturally. Let the seeing, hearing, touching, feeling merge back into its source naturally. How will it merge back? When dispassion is cultivated towards the world. And at the same time, the intellect is thinking about the supreme truth, is discriminating between the truth and the untruth. And when these two start clicking together, then the senses will merge back into the mind. And then what do you do with the mind? The mind is merged back into the intellect. This we explained before, that the agitations of the mind have to be curtailed by good quality decisions made by the intellect. Some source has to be chosen, some means have to be chosen, some goal has to be chosen by the intellect about which it is convinced, to which this agitated mind can feel and surrender itself. Otherwise it will keep going like a chook or like a monkey mind, they say, jumping from one tree to the other, one tree to the other, one tree to the other, one branch to the other. It has to stop, and it will stop only when you have a strong intellect. In the analogy of the chariot we saw, unless the intellect was not strong and decisive and holding the reins will be loose and they will make the senses go again into their sensory paths, and the mind will go along with them. And this has to be in this way. All the organs of action and of knowledge, that is mind and intellect, have to be brought under perfect control, and then the mind is merged into the intellect. See, where do the emotions, the doubts, the desires, etc., the angers, the jealousies, all these type of expressions, they happen in the mind. And all these have to be consciously, intelligently been worked out by giving a higher goal to the mind. And that giving of the higher goal is done by the intellect. Mind cannot think about all these. Mind is thinking only about reactions. Intellect does not think about reactions. Intellect thinks about decisions, ideas, concepts. And then it says the intellect into the greater intellect, greater Atman. Greater Atman, the greater self, that is the total mind. And that individual intellect is to be brought under it is to be surrendered to the total intellect. How do you do that? How do you surrender the intellect to the total intellect? By thinking about it to the exclusion of all other thoughts. Have you got the experience of total intellect, total mind? No. But then what would it be? How would God think if He had a mind? And you sit with that. This is step by step liberation. So how would God think? What would be the feeling if I was the master of this universe and everything was functioning because of me? What would be the feeling like? What would be the knowledge like? What would be the experience like? Stay with it. Stay with it. No, no, it is not possible. I stayed with it for one day. No, it will take some. You have to generate that energy. You have to create a momentum. And once that momentum is created within your mind and intellect, then it will reach its destination. So stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And when the intellect is contemplating on the whole, then it will attain that. And again, that intellect, total intellect, is to be sublimated into its fundamental cause, into its foundation, into its substratum. And here Swamiji is saying that state of sleepless sleep, where you are awake in spite of nothing in the mind. What do you mean by nothing in the mind? When you are in a state of sleepless sleep means there is no concept in your mind at that time, isn't it? You are observing what? Nothing. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where no concept, no idea, no emotion, nothing is there in the mind, just blank. And that is called the Turiya Avastha. That is called the fourth state. So first is the waking, then the dream, then the deep sleep, then the Turiya. So we conquer the deep sleep state and go into the fourth state, and that is the Turiya Avastha. And transcending that, the seeker or the meditator recognizes his own essential nature, and that is the Purusha himself, and that is the conscious principle. And at that time it is a thought-free subjective experience that the seeker is having, and that's ultimate. After that there is nothing. Yes?
Isn't there something, once again, that's saying that nothing? Like before when you said there is something that knows.
Yeah, that's what we said. In the sleepless sleep, in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the mind has got nothing in its womb. So you are watching it.
Who's watching?
That's what. So the next step is from stop watching the emptiness, the nothingness, and allow yourself to be merged into your essential nature, which is the substratum, because of which the nothingness or the mind without any ideas, concepts is expressing, without any thoughts is expressing. And once that the one who is watching the emptiness or the void stays with himself rather than looking at the void, at that time everything is over. Then you have reached the goal, then you have reached the destination, and from there onwards, a renewed way of looking at life will emerge. And what is that renewed way? It is that everything I am, anything you look at, anything you see, anything you interact with, everything is giving you an experience of I am. Yeah.
So, wouldn't it be more direct to go to that Turiya state and then let that lead you into the total intellect?
No, total. After going to that final state of realization, there is no concept of total intellect.
But that's what they're saying here too.
What are they saying?
Well, when you were saying how do you
So from intellect, individual intellect to total intellect, you go beyond total intellect, you will come across void. You go beyond void, you will merge into yourself. And from the point of view of the self, there is nothing called void, there is nothing called total intellect, there is nothing called intellect, there is nothing called world. Everything is I am. That's it. So, after going to the self, there is no question why, after you have become a Prime Minister, anybody wants to leave his seat. Look at Howard. So once you have come to know who you essentially are, free of everything, and in and through, that idea of saying that I am free of everything, that also will not be there.
Then why bother about going into the total intellect at all?
What do you mean?
Well, it's implying to be able to be in these different levels.
Yeah, because some people may not be able to go to the self directly. These are the steps that will present themselves along the journey. Whether you like it or not, they will present themselves. You may be seeking them, you may not be seeking them, but these steps will fall on the way. If you get involved, see, those who are following the path of good, meaning path of heaven, meaning the total intellect, then they will be stuck there. But we are not concentrating on that. We are concentrating on the ultimate self.
Yes, that's what
But on that journey, all these are the various stops and turns. So when you are coming from your home till here, there is Lilydale. Whether you like it or not, it will come on the way. The Hillsville village will come on the way, whether you like it or not. The zoo was also on the way. Now, if you get distracted by the zoo and go, let me see all the animals in the zoo and then I will go to the monastery, then you are distracted. So you can't avoid what is there on the way. Yes, if you are not interested in them, that's a different thing. You are not, yes, you are not seeking that. You are not seeking the total mind. But it is there. It is a natural progression that a seeker goes through when he is moving towards his own essential nature.
Yes.
Okay, got it?
Yes.
What about when the self manifests itself spontaneously?
Self does not manifest itself.
Hmm?
In self there is no manifestation.
But when the mind recognizes without any preparation at all that
Huh? Mind cannot recognize the self.
but when the self recognizes itself,
Okay, okay.
when this person here is not expecting it, and all of a sudden, bingo, it happens.
It is a deep emotional experience of the quiet. I don't know from what your exact experience is, but if you have known the self, everything will be over. It cannot be that I had a glimpse and this world is also real. It cannot be so. After you become a mother, from a virgin you become a mother, can you again become a virgin? Can you? No. Similarly, when you come to recognize your essential nature, after that the idea of the total mind, idea of the world, idea of the relationship, everything is over. And yet we see a master is living in the same world. He still has his mother, he still has his animals, he still has various other, he's interacting with everyone, he's eating food, he's going to toilet, it's going on. But in his mind, he's not giving, there is a total transformation, just like in that young girl who has now become a mother. It's total transformation. She can never go back to being a virgin. Similarly, a realized master can never go back to taking the world as a reality. That concept is not there at all. From water's point of view, there is nothing called ocean or waves. From a realized master's point of view, there is nothing called heaven or the mortal world. He alone is, that's it. And in that space of consciousness, he is functioning. And how he functions? Anything that, because others are saying he is the body, so he says I am the body. But he is not considering himself to be the body. He considers, because if he thinks he is the body, he will again become limited. His idea is that the mind also I am, the body also I am, the world, whatever is seeing, hearing, touching, everything I am. Nothing else. The mind does not get divided into me and the world. Ours is like that. I am and the world is. And I have to conquer the world. I have to succeed in the world. No. For a realized master, when what he looks is he is looking at himself only. Your mind cannot, it may be able to appreciate, but that experience is not there. This has to come about. And this is the journey that is given. So, once he reaches this destination of his journey, that is the Purusha, that is the peaceful Atman, the essential nature of his own. And with this, we come into one of the most famous verses which Swami Vivekananda, the disciple of Swami Ramakrishna Paramahans, he took the entire verse from here and used it as a clarion call to raise, to make all the seekers of the world to rise up. And here he says, Uttishtha Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhata Kshurasya Dhara Nishita Duratyaya Durgam Pathastat Kavayo Vadanti. Arise, awake, having reached the great teachers, learn, realize that Atman, like the sharp edge of a razor, is that path, difficult to cross and hard to tread. Thus say the wise. And here, the Upanishad is explaining that having known all this information, having gained, till now it was all only information, isn't it? We are sitting in meditation, we are studying every day, 3-4 classes. But what has happened? What has changed? We're still the same, still thinking what's there for next meal, when are we going to go to sleep? So, arise. When we arise from bed, she was saying yesterday that already she makes the bed, but yesterday she didn't make the bed. Why? She must be still sleepy. She's neither awake, neither asleep. She has woken up, she has arisen from the bed, but she is not fully awake. Isn't it? It takes some time for us to become awake. And when we become awake, then we become aware. So, arise, awake, prapya varan nibodhata, and having reached the great teachers. It is not enough we arise when we listen to these scriptures. But have we woken up to what we have risen to? See? So, we were in the sleep of ignorance and we have been risen. Why? Someone is telling us, "Hey, you are the real self," and we wake up. And we were out of the bed, we are out of the sleep. But having come out of the sleep, don't stop. Otherwise sleep will take over you again. And it happens many times, isn't it? Before we even come, we get up, and we sit up, alarm is gone, put the alarm off, and 5 minutes more. Gone again. Wake up. Become awake. Become awake to what? After arising from sleep to this knowledge, now wake up to this knowledge means you become aware of this knowledge as your own essential nature. And how do you become aware? How do you wake up to yourself? By going to the teachers who are ready to unconditionally teach you. That is the way. By listening to them, by listening to their experiences, why? Because like the sharp edge of a razor is that path, difficult to cross and hard to tread. Why it is like a razor's edge? Because we know how many times we have sabotaged our own conclusions. How many times we have sabotaged our own decisions? How many times we have sabotaged our own convictions? So we know that it is a razor's edge, because it is very easy to fall back into your old ways, into your old habits, inadvertently. And if there is no teacher in front of you, there will be no one to remind you again and again. Left alone, the mind will devour you before you know. If you are not strict, if you are not brought about that environment where the intellect is very strong, then it's a different matter. If we have brought our mind, according to the yoga, if we have brought our mind to the pratyahar stage and it is focused on dharana dhyana, means it is focused on the reality now and the inner pull has started, then it's a different matter. But can we say we are there yet? If not, then go to the satsangs, go to the teachers, seek the realized masters, seek their guidance, seek their words, so that they keep waking you up, helping you to walk the path to the reality. Because it's very rare are the few who can walk this path all by themselves. Very rare. Yes, in the end, nobody can make you realize. Walk, you have to alone, but you require some help along the way. And that help is required in the beginning stages, not afterwards. And that beginning stage is that is the, the razor's edge. It's very easy to get lost in the total mind. Who is going to tell you that is not the ultimate goal? Who is going to tell you having compassion and love in your heart is not the ultimate conclusion of your life? Until unless you are not going to experience everything in this world as I am. Only a teacher can. Whom will you find out whether what you are experiencing is what it is? You have to go to someone. Books cannot tell you. Books are limited. Only an experienced person who has gone through it, who has experienced it, against his experience, with him you can share that experience. But how do I know that he has experienced? That is up to your faith now. You have to go to a realized master. If you don't have a faith that he is a realized master, then who can help? Every realized master has the same experience. This experience of the self cannot be different. See? Heat, experience of heat anywhere in the world is the same, isn't it? Whether it is from a matchstick, whether it is from a gas, whether it is from volcano, whether it is from the sun, it's the same. And you talk to an Aboriginal fellow, or you talk to an American Indian, or you talk to an Eskimo, and say, heat, he understands. All are realized about heat. Similarly, realized persons, when they talk about, or they don't talk about the self, they know each other, that this fellow knows. So to them, we must go and this way. See, our Einstein, when he discovered E is equal to mc square, if you read his biography, he says, I have only touched the fringe of what everything is. There is much more, but I don't have time to discover it. I spent 40 years discovering that mass energy is equal to mass into acceleration. Huh? That energy is never lost. He said, I spent 40 years discovering this. It was revealed to me. If I had spent this time thinking about higher things, that source of life, maybe it would have revealed itself to me. This is Einstein speaking. Lost the opportunity? Life over? Kshurasya dhara. It's a razor's edge path. We can very easily get caught up by an idea what gravity is, by caught up in an idea of how that water gets displaced, what Archimedes discovered. We can get distracted or focused on what that energy never is lost when mass is destroyed. And then what? Then the next challenge is there, waiting. But the wise man that our Einstein was, he recognized that he made a mistake. So therefore it is told, arise, awake, arise and turn towards turn your mind towards the bright intellect that is within you, which is thinking about the supreme goal, the supreme destination, the ultimate goal, and start walking the path towards it. And in this manner, and as we start walking towards the path, as the mind starts, it becomes awake to the convictions of the intellect, automatically the vairagya, the dispassion towards the world starts expressing in our life. At that time, don't become afraid. I'm feeling like meditating, but who will do my jobs? Fear. How will I survive? Fear. Where will the money come? Fear. Who will take care of my children? Fear. If I keep sitting like this, how will my body survive if I don't eat food? Fear. Unnecessary fears. Trust. Nothing will happen for at least 14 days. Body will not die if you don't eat. By that time, everything will be over. But these habits that we have, these conditionings that we have, they become an obstacle. So for that, the conviction has to be strong within the intellect. And sometimes when someone passes away, or when you go to crematorium or you go to the burial ground, what do you feel? At that time, wise words come, isn't it? Wise thoughts are coming in our mind. That life is ephemeral, there is a higher, one day I will also go like this, I must make something out of my life. Either it is worldly success, or it is, I must know God before I die, and you compare your life to the one who has died and you come to some conclusions, isn't it? That I must not live a life of sense-oriented, sensuous life. And all these conclusions you come to, and after coming back home and taking a bath, and you start all over again as you were before. So where did that dispassion that was expressing at the crematorium, where did it go? This is what is called as Kshurasya dhara. Everyone is aware what the ultimate goal is. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone knows that they are going to die physically. Everyone knows that they must exercise this choice of seeking the eternal. But they are so carried away by the distractions of the world, by the lusts of the world, that before they know it, they have got again enslaved by the mind. Isn't it true what I just said about the crematorium? It's called